Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up now, going to be talking about food labels. And to be honest, food labels are not that easy to read. There's lots of numbers. There's a whole list of ingredients. There's health claims that can leave you feeling more confused than informed, because it's not just the information panel, which is where I tend to go to. I tend to avoid all the other health claims or all the, the low fat or, the ratings, and the ratings are good, I guess. But we're going to look specifically at reading the nutritional panel at the back. And the good news is that you don't need to understand everything. You just need to know where to look. And there's 3 key things that I'm going to teach you today that are going to give you the biggest insight into what you're actually eating and to allow you to make better choices. So the first one we're going to start with is looking at the serving size. And I'm really simplifying things for you because, yes, we can dive deep into the sodium and the sugars and the saturated fats and the unsaturated fats and all of that. But we're going to scale that back a little bit more and simplify it. And not because what I'm about to share with you is unimportant or insignificant. In fact, sometimes when we pare back and we go back to the basics, it can help us to make better and in more informed decisions more quickly and more confidently, rather than going, oh, this just feels too hard. We can confidently go, okay, I'm looking at these 3 things. If it doesn't match up to that, then I'm going to try and pick a better option. So everything on the nutrition panel, including the calories, the sugar, the protein, the fat, it's all based on the serving size of the product. And this is where a lot of people get caught out. So start with the serving sizes and have a look at, beyond anything, and this is what I teach my boys a lot, is if they're grabbing a bag of chips or a bag of anything, have a look at what does the label say, how many serving sizes are there. And if by sticking to the 2 serving sizes, so, for example, if there's 2 serving sizes, then you can go, okay, well, rather than consuming this whole bag or this whole yogurt or whatever it is, I'm going to consume just the serving size. So if the label says 150 calories per serving, but there's actually 2 servings, you're going to consume 300 calories, and that is the same whether it's the sugar, the fat, everything else. So making sure that you always look at how many serving sizes there are and stick to that. Even if you feel like, yeah, I could quite comfortably eat the bag and there's 4 serving sizes in there, we're going to portion that bit out for ourselves, whether it's 4 servings or 6 servings or whatever it is, and just take out that many and just stick to the serving sizes, because the way that the serving sizes are designed is to give us the average intake that is a healthy intake. So by simply sticking to serving sizes, it's going to be quite a few steps ahead of worrying too much about how much fat and protein and all of those things. So that's the first tip. If there are 2 serving sizes, then you can have half of the product. If it's 1 serving size, then you can have the whole thing. Another extra tip is that if you are comparing products, make sure that if you've got 2 loaves of bread there, or if you're comparing 2, packets of or containers of yogurt or whatever it is, make sure that you are, if you're trying to make a good comparison between the 2 products, again, you're actually looking at the serving size, because you may find that some companies will actually change the serving size to make it actually to reduce how much intake you are reading that you are going to get in terms of fat and sugar. So just be mindful that serving sizes are chosen by the food manufacturer. They're not based on what you should eat. It's just a standardized amount that's used for labeling. But be mindful, and it is a first step to making a better choice. The next thing that you can do is just understand the percentage percentage daily value, or percent DV. So the percentage daily value is one of the most helpful tools on the label if you know how to actually use it. And it shows you how much a nutrient in one serving contributes to your total daily needs, which is based on roughly about a 2,000 calorie diet, which now that may be what your body needs. You may need more than that or less than that, but they obviously need to put an average on these labels. So if we're looking at something that's low, we know that anything that's 5% or less in terms of the percent of daily value is something that's considered to be low. Anything that's 20% or more is considered high. So when we're using the percentage of daily value to spot what you need more or less of, we're going to aim for a high percentage DV with foods that with fiber, with calcium, with iron, and with vitamins and protein. And what we want is we want to aim low for percentage values of saturated fat, of sodium and added sugar. So depending on what the product is, there's certain things that we want to have a low percentage daily value, such as the saturated fats, the salt and the sugar. And then we want some that we want them to be high, such as the fiber, the calcium, the iron and the vitamins. And that's a really fast way to see whether a food is working for your health because you're getting some good high concentrations of the good things and low concentrations of the aspects of the food that your body doesn't need, and that's going to be detrimental to your overall health. So that's a really quick and easy check. So we've already checked in, okay, how many serving sizes do I need to stick to? And then secondly, we're looking at the percentage of the daily values based on having a high percentage for fiber, calcium, iron and vitamins, and low percentages for fat, salt and sugar. The last step we're going to look at is reading the ingredients list. So if the nutritional panel will tells you what's in the food, the ingredients list tells you why it looks like that and what's in there. So ingredients are listed in order of quantity, meaning that the first few ingredients make up most of the product. And as you go on, then you can see the ingredients diminish as the list goes on. So what you want to do is you want to scan the first three ingredients. And if they're things like, depending on the product, if they're things like oats or nuts or lentils, that's great. They're all good things. So you're thinking, okay, this is a relatively good choice. If the first or top three ingredients are things like white sugar or white flour or vegetable oil, it's not going to be so great. So it's really easy to be able to, by looking at the ingredients list, have a good look at what is it mostly made up of, and then you can make a decision on whether it's going to be a good choice for you, or you can make a comparison, pick up another product that's similar and make sure that you compare. Also, what I do find is that when I am comparing ingredients, I try to look at things that contain the fewer ingredients, because generally speaking, fewer ingredients can mean that there's less processing and there's less things added into it. So a classic example is, say, looking at wraps, and these are a little bit of my bugbear, but if you look at wraps, some of them can have quite a lot of preservatives, additives, colours and flavours to them, whereas when you get some supermarkets make the wraps on site in like amongst their bakery, and when you look at the ingredients of those, they're so basic outside of the wheat flour and the water and egg or whatever else is in there. And because they're made fresh on site and they do have minimal ingredients, you know that it's going to be a better product. So when we're looking at the list of ingredients, look at the first three. Are they coming from wholesome, good, healthy choices? Then generally speaking, that's going to be a better option. If they are coming from things like sugar or vegetable oils or white flour, those sorts of things, then you know the choice isn't going to be so great. And some of the other things that you want to look out for are words like glucose or corn syrup or anything that's ending in the letters OSE, which these are all forms of added sugar. So if you don't see sugar as the first ingredient, but you see glucose or corn syrup or any other OS sounding word, then you know that that is also added sugar and you want to avoid having that in the first three ingredients. So long, hard to pronounce ingredients, these often mean lots of heavy processing, and the simpler and more familiar the ingredients, the better the product is going to be for you. So the bottom line is that you don't really need to be a nutrition expert. You don't need to remember all of the different values on the food label and how much of salt and what's the per gram of protein or sugar and all of those sorts of things. You can look at the three things in summary. The serving size, how much should you be eating of that particular product? Is the whole packet one serving, or is there two servings or four servings in that? And stick to the serving sizes. The second is what percent of the daily value, to spot what's high and what's low, so you know which ones you need to pick that should be higher in concentration and the ones that should be lower in concentration. And then the ingredients list to see what's really in it. So these three small changes can help you to shop smarter, but also make more confident choices and start to fuel your body with the right quantity of food, but also with food that's going to work with your body and not against it. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.